Hello and welcome to MetroArts. I'm your host, Cheryl Coonan. Here on MetroArts, we highlight some of the best in the business, from fine artists, photographers, and performing artists to cinematographers and musical artists, all from the Metro Detroit area. On today's show, we have artist and entrepreneur Cheryl English of Black Cat Pottery, from the Detroit Flyhouse Circus School, Veronica Callan, and pop punk band Oscillating Fan Club. We'd like to welcome artist and entrepreneur Cheryl English to MetroArts. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm great, thanks.
Good. Thank you so much for being here. So your business is called Black Cat Pottery, and you've been supporting yourself as a gardener and potter and educator for a number of years. Tell us how your love for gardening and pottery came about.
They're sort of complementary. I've always got my hands in the dirt, whether I'm outside or inside. And that keeps me grounded. The source for that probably goes back to my family. My father's father was a gardener by profession, worked for one of the more affluent families in northern Vermont, where both my parents are from. My mother's family was a farming family. So both families have a history of gardening, having their working the soil.
Sure.
And so that was always something that my parents were doing. My father was more the vegetable gardener guy. My mother was more the ornamental gardener. I had always wanted to do pottery. As a kid, I was an autodidact. I was always trying stuff out, and everything from fiber crafts and framing and this sort of thing. And I always wanted to do pottery, but I didn't have a chance to in high school because I was on this strict college preparatory program, everything from AP Math, English, and history, and all that stuff. So I never really had time to indulge my creative side in the academic setting. I did do a lot of stuff on my own. I went away to school, undergrad, Michigan State, graduate school at Cornell, studying art history.
Sure.
So the next best thing.
Yeah, so it really kind of is in your blood to be creative and be an artist and a gardener at the same time.
Yes, absolutely.
Where did the name Black Cat Pottery come from?
My cat, Gus. He was the first cat that I adopted as an adult myself. We grew up with cats. We always had black cats, in fact.
Okay.
And I adopted him when I was living in California. And he was this, when I went to the shelter, he had just had his eye removed. And he was very, kind of scary looking, and I felt really sorry for this cat. He was beautiful otherwise. And I thought, no one's gonna look at this poor cat more than just twice. And we bonded immediately, and I decided to name him Antigonus Augustus Primaris Magnus. Antigonus refers to a famous general in Greek history who only had one eye.
And this is who the business is named after?
This is the namesake.
He's your namesake. That's wonderful. And then your art, let's talk about that. You're well known for your sunflowers and your masks. Tell us a little bit about each and kind of the creative process behind them.
The sunflowers and masks are complementary, although the masks kind of came first because when I first started doing the pottery, when I got back into the area and decided to take the adult education classes in Grosse Pointe with Jean Pluhar, I started making these masks, and I think they were sort of an expression of all the stuff that had been going on in my life and getting it out. And I actually ended up having a show at what was called Planet Ant Coffee House, which is now Planet Ant Theater in Hamtramck. And we had this exhibit. We put up, a friend of mine helped me hang the show, and we finished hanging, and it was really interesting because we had 3 different walls that we could hang on, and the pieces all sort of glommed together in 3 sections. We had this one big wall that was working girls, which were things like the Fates and the Erinyes or Furies and the Four Seasons and Tike and Neeks and all this mythological reference. And then we had another wall that was Girls Gone Wrong, which was Medusa.
Sure.
And Arachne and Clytie, all these stories from Ovid's Metamorphoses. And then we had the third wall was Great Date Girls. And I had melted glass over faces and hung chains on them and had all sorts of interesting stuff.
Very cool.
So the masks were, I think they were like an expression, me getting all this stuff out that I had been dealing with for so long.
Sure, kind of an expression of what was happening in your life.
Yes, an externalization of all the internal processing.
Yeah. Well, we see your work is beautiful. What kind of inspires your creative process? Is it life? Could it be anything that you come across?
The natural world is my biggest inspiration now. My gardening and my pottery are integrally related. I am passionately interested in native plants, and I feature materials from native plants in a lot of the work I do now.
Okay.
My inspiration, the brain's always going. Something a customer says to me, an observation by a friend, something I see on a walk or a bike ride. It can be anything from a leaf on the ground to a brake disc that I see sitting on the road on my way by, on my walk.
So anything and everything.
Anything and everything. Just be open and aware.
Yeah. Now, how long does it take to complete a piece from start to finish?
There's a lot of range there. A lace bowl can take me, 15 minutes to fabricate, 2 minutes to clean up, fire it up, glaze it in 2 minutes, and fire it up and clean it up, and it's ready to go. A big sunflower, depending on which one, can take me the better part of an hour to get it together. The other thing about it is the time isn't just the time spent on the piece, it's the time of figuring out the process. How do I make this idea happen?
So it's not always the hands-on, it's kind of in your mind.
And it's a lot of trial and error, a lot of error. And it's 21 years of figuring it out.
Sure.
Figuring it out. Yeah.
How long would something like that piece, the leaf, take you?
The sunflower leaf?
Yes.
Well, that's maybe not the best example, because the first time I fabricated this piece, I roll out the slab of clay, prepare it, put the leaf on, cut it out, and then form it into a mold. And it was doing really well. It was leather hard, which means it's still moist, but it's firm. And I pulled it out of the mold, and I put it on a shelf to finish drying, and I came back down 20 minutes later, and it had cracked.
Oh.
Because the main vein is so big that there wasn't enough clay to hold it together. The leaf itself cracked, the dried leaf, and I had to go through a big process of peeling it off of there and reassembling it, re-moistening it, and figuring out how to resolve that. And that's the trial and error part. Sure. But I wasn't going to give that leaf up because it was so big.
Yeah, right. It's gorgeous. So it's probably really near and dear to your heart, that particular one.
That one, oh, I don't want to let it go.
You may not want to get rid of that one. Well, thank you so much. Where can people go to, find out more about you and about your work?
I have a website. It's www.blackcatpottery.com. I'm also on Etsy, and I have a Facebook page as well.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your work with us.
Thanks for talking with me.
You're welcome. You're watching MetroArts Detroit, produced at Wayne State University. Support for the Black Cat Pottery segment was provided by the Coleman Foundation. Joining us now is Veronica Callan from the Detroit Flyhouse Circus School. Hi, Veronica.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. So tell us, what exactly is the Detroit Flyhouse?
The Detroit Flyhouse is a circus school, and we teach the students to do aerial and acrobatics and many other skills. It's right in the Eastern Market area.
Okay, right around here. So what, you mentioned aerial and acrobatic. What does that exactly mean, like for someone who doesn't know?
Sure. Aerial would be anything we hang from the ceiling, basically. We have trapeze, we have lyra, we have a tippy lyra that moves a little bit. We have straight fabrics, which is what you see a lot in Cirque du Soleil, a cordelice, which is a rope, many different things that people can try and get on, and that would be the aerial things that happen up there. And acrobatics would be on the ground, partner-based things typically, and a little bit of balancing on each other, lifting, somersaults and cartwheels.
So that's the primary difference between the two.
Yes.
Aerial is in the air,
Yes.
obviously, and acrobat on the ground. And you mentioned mostly partner-based. Are there any individual acrobat classes you can take?
We don't have individual acrobatic classes on the schedule, but we have lots of different instructors. So if students were interested in something like that, we would hook them up with the right person.
Okay, so this sounds so cool. Is there a certain age group that comes to you, or does it matter?
We get all ages. In fact, in the summer we offer kids camp for kids from 7 to 12. We have a kids class on the schedule right now. For adult classes, we take 12 and up, and that's any age, any ability. And private lessons, any age, like usually 7 years old, even for private lessons.
Okay.
But any age can come to that too.
And there's no never too old or never too young.
Yeah, almost never too young, and it's fun for them to come and watch. Sometimes we have lots of opportunities for people to try all sorts of different things, but yeah, we have everybody, different ages and abilities get into different parts of it.
Okay.
So there's always something.
Is there a really big acro and aerial kind of following in Metro Detroit?
It's on the upswing. It's really like the trendy thing to do right now. Circus is really popular at events and for fitness, and so there are a lot in the area, and many of them have come through the Detroit Flyhouse or connected in some way. Not all of them, but we have people coming from other parts of the country and coming in, and it's a great hub of activity there.
It sounds like it. Interesting. So where did the idea for the Flyhouse come from, and how did you get involved?
Well, Misha Adams owns it with her partner Matt Boss, and she started it about 5 years ago as a result of learning it and wanting a place to practice herself. And there wasn't any place around here. So she got the space and got some equipment and was working with Angelique Lely, and that was her first instructor. And so it was born of that, and then just gathering people who also wanted to learn it. And yeah, that's how it began. I started about 3 years ago. A friend of mine recommended the yoga class that they had there. And I got in and saw the partner acrobatics that they were doing. That was the only class that was open at the time, so I started with that and was totally hooked, not just on the material, but on the community. And then during the course of class, I would see the people coming in for aerial class, and I saw the girls in their leather trapeze boots and was just sort of smitten by the boots and wanted to know what I had to do to earn something like that.
The boots hooked you.
Yeah, it is. It starts with shoes for me. So I signed up for the aerial class, and it's hard work, but the kind of hard where you really have a serious positive feedback when you got something that you couldn't get before, and it's thrilling.
I imagine. And you mentioned the aerial class. We know that that's your most popular class, the aerial yoga. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. We have an 8-week syllabus, and when people sign up, we go through a series of about 5 weeks, and then we spend a few weeks on review. But we pick 2 different apparatus for that syllabus, and the students work through progressions. So we have mixed. We do have a level 1 and level 2, but in any class, we have a mixed range of abilities since there's been so many people coming through. And we just follow where they are. If it's their first time in class and they're a drop-in, they're going to do something different than somebody who's been coming for a couple of years. And the teachers are highly trained to recognize that and support the student from where they are instead of figuring that everybody's coming in from the same place. You really have to watch, especially in aerial and things like that, to make sure everybody has a fun and safe experience.
Sure. So do you have to have any type of like gymnastics or dance background or yoga in order to go to the school?
And I had none. I came in with no dance background, no gymnastics. I was incredibly clumsy, and my friends see my pictures on Facebook and are constantly commenting that they do not remember me being able to do anything like that.
Wow.
But you go from where you are. It's circus school, so there's something for the most flexible and something for the stronger person and something for the person just starting out. And we offer so many ranges of poses and sequences and apparatus and things that everybody who wants to do it has really found something that they can do, and our student showcases are a great way for them to present that. They go all out, the students. They work on their music. They work on costumes. They take extra lessons to nail it. They invite all the family and friends, and we have the chairs out. We do popcorn, and we have the stilt walkers so the kids can come and get a really nice circus show. And it's $5 for adults. It's free for kids. The money goes into our scholarship fund, and they put on a huge show. And so anybody who wants to perform, it's not like you just perform in class. You get to perform on stage in an all-out thing. It's a big deal.
So it's
really fun.
all levels. No one has to be afraid to walk in and not know anything. And you mentioned performances, and I know you do performances within your organization, like you were saying. Do you ever do performances outside of it?
The circus school just does the showcases. There's a separate circus troupe that can be hired for private events and corporate events and things like that.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
What is the sense of community that you really like within the Flyhouse?
It's incredible. Misha and Matt have worked really hard, not to just to provide a safe place for circus arts, but also to be a part of the community. They're in Eastern Market. They live in Detroit. They volunteer. Sometimes when we're out performing or things like that, it's for donation, and they they send a lot of money to Sasha Farms, which is a large animal rescue in Michigan, and they will support the students' charities too. If they come and say, we'd like to raise money for this, they will help out. And
that's great.
The people who come there are all people who want to support that same sort of idea and support Detroit and support each other.
That's awesome.
So you walk in and you're immediately among friends almost.
That's great. Now I know, just really quickly, you mentioned the circus. Now, is it kind of the traditional circus we're thinking with clowns and things, or is it more like a Cirque du Soleil?
It's a little more like Cirque du Soleil. The only animals we have is when our friend Tom dresses up in a bear suit, typically, or somebody brings their dogs around. But there's no animals in the circus. We work on the aerial equipment and ground-based skills, although we do teach juggling and hooping and fire
Very
skills,
cool.
things like that.
So if someone wanted to learn more about the Flyhouse or sign up for classes, where would they go?
They could go to DetroitFlyhouse.com, or they could email Misha at DetroitFlyhouse.com.
Great. Can they find you on social media?
Oh, absolutely.
Great.
On Facebook, yes.
Great. Well,
Lots of pictures.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Great.
You're watching Metro Arts on Detroit Public Television. We'd like to welcome Detroit's own Oscillating Fan Club to Wayne State and Metro Arts. Here's their single, To the Dogs.
Take my soul, take the light that's left and shining on the darkest of day. Take my body, take what you need and feed the rest to the dog, to the dog. To it, I can't let myself escape all I had and all I've known. So take good care of all I had to give to you. Take my spirit, and it's broken for me, keep it closely by your side. Take my love, take what you want and give it out to somebody else. To it, I can't let myself disgrace all I had and all I've known. So take good care of all I had to give to you. To it, I can't let myself escape all I had and all I've known. So take good care of all I had to give to you.
Great song.
Thank you.
So what was the inspiration behind it?
Well, that song was written by Ray Thompson. handsome man standing next to me here. And I can assume the song is about unrequited love, self-loathing, things of that nature.
Could you please introduce yourself and the
My
rest of the
name's
video?
John. I'm sorry, my name's John Biernat. This is Ray Thompson. That is Pierce Reynolds. The man behind the drums with the cat shirt on, Justin Walsh. And over there, that handsome devil, Scott Mason.
Well, so your band name, Oscillating Fan Club, I assume is a
Yes.
play on words. Tell us how you came to that name.
Well, actually, it's based on a novel from the 60s about a detective, a
Really?
gumshoe, if you will.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah, that's where that comes from.
Very, very interesting. So you have kind of a unique sound, kind of bluesy, kind of surfy. Tell
Yeah.
us, how has your sound evolved over time?
Well, Ray and Pierce began the project some years ago, and they are the masterminds behind the OFC, if you will.
Okay.
And it's grown over the last 7-8 years into a really great project. We play around Detroit quite often. We just released an album at the Old Miami a couple weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Oscillations of a Beast. That's for sale online at Bandcamp, Oscillating Fan Club's Bandcamp page, as well as the Facebook, and yeah, Bellyache Records is, we released the album through Bellyache Records.
Okay.
So you can reach us there as well.
Terrific.
Yeah.
So what's next for Oscillating Fan Club?
Well, we are set to do a tour, a regional tour,
Great.
possibly to the East Coast, as well as South by Southwest, which is the yearly music
That's pretty big
hoopla
time.
in Austin, Texas.
Yeah, that's great. So
Right.
you're going to be
So,
doing that, and then
yeah.
also people can find you playing up around Metro Detroit.
Sure, yeah, we're often in the area.
Great, great. So
Mm-hmm.
how can people find more about you guys, and where can people find your music?
Well, like I said, through the Facebook page, the Bandcamp page, through UHF in Royal Oak. They're selling our records, the record store there on
UHF,
Washington.
okay.
Bellyache Music. OscillatingFanClub.com, I'm sorry. That's the obvious one.
OscillatingFanClub.com.
Right.
Awesome,
yeah.
wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much for being here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thank you.
Once again, it's Oscillating Fan Club with their song Ohio on MetroArts Detroit.
Stacking dreams in silver hair, and the flames no longer burning. I'm only trying, lightly dying, to forget the words you say. How you sleep at night? Oh, did you burn my heart in two? How you sleep at night? Oh, did you burn
We hope you enjoyed today's show. I'd like to thank our guests Cheryl English, Veronica Callan, and Oscillating Fan Club for joining us today. I'm your host on MetroArts, Cheryl Coonan, reminding you to foster your own creativity and always support the arts wherever you go.